Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, among others. I'm Justin Cummings, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
That's your intros just always get more and more enthusiastic, Michelle. I love it.
Oh my god! No, they don't, though.
So, today, Michelle and I are here discussing your feedback, as well as our opinions, on the episode of Steven Universe, Rocknaldo.
Yes.
Dylan, Sam, and Delaney, the other half of the OVA crew, pretty much, that covers Steven Universe, they already did an episode. You can hear that, as well as this podcast and all of our podcasts at overlyanimated.com, or by searching Overly Animated on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. And I'm not going to tell you my favorite podcatcher because I lost a bet, ladies and gentlemen. If you listened, if you listened 2 weeks ago, it was the New Crystal Gems feedback episode. Michelle and I made a bet on Rocknaldo.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember what I would have gotten for winning the bet.
I don't remember either.
But I do remember the bet. The bet was that if there was something big in Rocknaldo, I would win. And if it was just another filler episode, Michelle would win. And Michelle and I have agreed before the show that although there was really cool stuff in the episode, like message-wise, there was no show developments that would count as me winning. So I have lost, which means I cannot make a single pun for the entire podcast. So if that is the only reason you listen to Overly Animated, you can go ahead and leave now.
Yes.
There will not be any of those on this episode. But there was, for about a day, I was convinced I had won. Michelle, do you want to tell people why I thought I won?
I don't know why you thought you won. Why?
Because Cartoon Network did a certain thing.
Oh, it was so awful. Why would they do that? That's just like the worst.
Can you explain what it was for our viewers who may not have somehow seen?
Cartoon Network released this image of a mysterious gem, and they're like, if you, like, I don't remember, I'm going to paraphrase, essentially like, oh, if you want to know who this new gem who's going to be introduced tomorrow is, like, tune in at 7, wink, wink. And of course, everyone, like, freaked out, because, like, yo, why would you spoil your show like that? This is, like, a big spoiler.
There were memes, there was everything.
It was so awful.
And it was...
Oh my god.
I can't remember who it was. It might have been someone on Tumblr. It might have been someone in the Patreon group. If you're listening, comment below. Let me know. Just get in touch with me and I will credit you. Somebody told me that this episode would have Ronaldo's Gemsona. Someone called it. And whoever you are, please let me know because I am sorry I didn't listen to you.
You were right, person.
You were right, person. So, no new gem. We did get a really interesting episode. I like what they were talking about. I have an opinion on it because I come from a very different perspective. But we're going to get into that. Let's start with you, Michelle. What are your thoughts on Rocknaldo?
Oh, okay. Well, like, I was like the most low hype anyone could be for Rocknaldo, just because I knew it's called Rocknaldo. Like, I knew Ronaldo was gonna be like a very prevalent part of the episode, and that made me very, very cautious. But having said that, this is probably the best use of oh my god, I always called it Rocknaldo again! This is probably the best use of Ronaldo that we could have hoped for, because it did everything I, like, felt was missing from his character. Like, he got called out on his behavior, like, he acknowledged it. It seems like he actually is gonna try to be, like, better now and consciously thinking about what his actions are, which he never did before, which is why I struggled so hard liking him at all. And I mean, it was an interesting subject to tackle, like, somebody who exists outside of a community that is, like, somewhat in the minority and doesn't know anything about them and comes in, like, expecting to be treated the same and then gets, like, really mad when it's not all about them. Like, this is all, like, really great stuff to talk about. I'm really glad this show did it, and I thought it was handled really, really well. So, like, in all things considered, I did, like, the episode pretty okay, even with Ronaldo in it.
I like the episode. I think my favorite moments, a lot of people will say, are the gems. They really shine in this episode. Amethyst specifically. Dad, I'm back, blog.
That was really good.
Yeah, Amethyst in general just kicked it out of the park this episode. I would have loved some of the auxiliary gems. I would like more Connie, but I thought what we got was really good. There's definitely some nods, because I saw some people like, what specific community are they talking about? It seemed a bit more feminism than the LGBTQ community. It could go either way. It could be any minority group, but the one line that, really just swung it towards specifically feminism was, they hate men? Which,
I'm sure that was like a big, cause like that was like kind of the thing when Steven Universe like first came out. Like there was like this very loud like minority of people who were like, why isn't there a male gem? Like we need more male gems. And you're like, yo, like Steven's the main character. He is a male gem. Like, can that not be enough for you? And so I think that's like part of where that came from, which is pretty funny.
It was great, but see. On one hand, I love the way they handle this. I love their points about allyship. I thought it was a really interesting like we haven't seen that message tackled like ever.
A lot, yeah.
In like a cartoon ever. But I feel like they almost made Ronaldo too extreme. I know there are people like him, but at the same time, it's so weird because I'm trying not to let my personal bias get in the way. Because, like, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna come off like the biggest jerk on the internet right now. But, for those who don't know, I am a white male. I'm also a gender studies minor. And I can say from experience, when you tell people that, they're like, oh, you just want to meet chicks. Oh, why are you a gender studies minor? Oh, you can't be a feminist. Like, I've experienced that. And so I'm trying not to, like, let that perception, like, color this episode. Because, like, I sensed it a bit, but also Ronaldo is, like, jerky. Yeah. And so it's like, I think they handled it well, definitely. It's just, I think it goes to show how sensitive a topic it is. And it's something, like, we don't even talk about it. Because, like, other sensitive topics we try to, like, veil more, and this was not subtle in the slightest. And
I agree with that, yeah, it definitely wasn't subtle.
I almost wish it had been a bit more subtle, just because
though?
I think they might have underestimated. Gosh, and it literally could just be me. Again, this is just my view of the episode. I do not speak for the entire cast of Overly Animated, but I think like it is because it's a very complex issue. Because you do have people who make it all about them, who should face this kind of backlash, but then you have people who are being sincere that face this backlash, and I don't want to say this episode was encouraging that, but it's like, it's hard to tell where to draw the line, and I don't want to say, but I think they kind of like underestimated how sensitive an issue it is, in general. But again, that's my perspective from my background. I could be wrong entirely. I have always had an issue with the characterization of Ronaldo, because I think they did make him too mean-spirited, and I think they're going to start redeeming him now, which is good. I just wish they had done that sooner.
That's interesting.
That's just my ramble.
Yeah,
I don't speak for
thoughts,
everyone.
Justin.
I don't speak for everyone. But you know who does speak for the fans? The fans speak for the fans, Michelle.
Yes, they do.
And we have a lot of fans who messaged. For these feedback episodes, guys, you can email me. Pretty sure it's justin@overlyanimated.com. That sounds right. You can email me. You can write on the website. You can write it on the YouTube video if you watch there. Send it to my Tumblr. I don't care. Just get it to me somehow, and I will read it. So I always prioritize email. Email is always number one for me. So if you want yours read first, just email me. I'm a nice guy. I'll read it. I promise. So our one and only email this week, Michelle, comes from our good friend John, aka Garfield, one of our patrons.
Garfield, yes.
And this was a wonderful email. Let's start. While I don't mind it when the show works in good morals and messages, this episode fails in a couple ways. One, the allyship point is fair, but taken more broadly to include other fringy social or political movements, Ronaldo represents the uninformed outsider who becomes, quote-unquote, woke after a brief introduction and starts criticizing those more knowledgeable than he was. And even when contrite, he still sounds like a smug jerk, about which it leads me to question whether the lessons he learned will actually stick going forward. Let's talk about that first. Do you think Ronaldo will actually change, Michelle?
Yeah, I actually think that's why I feel okay about the episode, because, like, at the end, like, the fact that he changed the pamphlet, the fact that, like, he asks like Steven like, oh well, like why don't you use your namesake? Like he's asking like a question about like a culture he does not understand, and when Steven kind of corrects him about like not to say like certain things, he takes that to heart. He's like, okay, like I'll do that next time. I do think this is the thing with Ronaldo, like I think this is him finally actually like aware of like that he is flawed and has to be better, and he actually wants to. So yeah, I do think hopefully we're gonna see more of a progression with his character from this point.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, and that's saying a lot because I really hated Ronaldo for the last like 3 seasons.
We do have a question, a second point about that though from Garfield, which I think ties into what you were saying about not liking Ronaldo in general. The second point is Ronaldo is just not a good character in general. The conspiracy theorists can work really well in alien human shows like Dib from Invader Zim, which Garfield says is the best example of this. But when you know the society he lives in knows about the aliens and just doesn't care, he just comes off as irritating, which that's been a lot of people's issue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, like, you have Mayor Dewey even, who's just like, have your magical sisters fix things, whatever, I don't care. And then you got Ronaldo. Sneeple!
Yeah.
Do you think that they're going to kind of tone it back a bit with the whole conspiracy theorist?
I think the conspiracy theories might have like a lot more like solid direction now, because now like he knows he can think about the crystal gems in terms of his conspiracies, but like as soon as Steven told him like that he was a crystal gem and that like rock people were essentially the same thing, and that like his pamphlets were really offensive and saying like basically things that weren't true, he was like, oh my god, I'm so glad you're the only one who took a pamphlet. Like I feel so bad knowing that I've been like spreading misinformation. Like I do think he is actually coming from like a good place, but then he acts like a total jerk, and then he like has to think about his actions. But like I think maybe the biggest issue with Ronaldo is like maybe the show itself wasn't quite sure what they were doing with him for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's it. Like he wasn't really like, he had so many episodes for a background character, but even then they didn't do a lot with him in like a particular direction. They just kind of used him as like a caricature to make fun of like things like dubs versus subs and like being like really into anime and like being like into like social media, but like it wasn't really a character. I feel like at this point maybe he actually is going to have like a more cemented character, which is why I actually enjoyed him like a little bit.
I'd really like to see him kind of become a force for good and like...
Yeah, that's what I want too! I want to stop being like obnoxious and bothering people and actually do something like good.
Well, I mean, now that he's caring and he's asking these questions, let's say Beach City doesn't...
He's trying to be mindful.
Beach City doesn't care, but let's say, you know, people from another town start showing up and they question the gems and they start protesting. Ronaldo could kind of act like the one, like, I understand where you're coming from, I've spent time with them, I understand now, and kind of pass along the information.
You give them the new pamphlets.
Yeah, I'd like that kind of redemption for him. I feel that I want to see the Ronalflets again, but with them acting as a force for good. I think that would be a nice payoff and a very sweet moment.
Yeah, I agree.
And finally, from Garfield's email, I missed this the first time. What was Onion doing on the roof of the fry stand?
Oh my god. Whatever Onion normally does in his spare time. Probably up to no good.
Onion just lives up on the fry stand now. Jasper lives in the ocean, Onion lives on the fry stand.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Equal balance somehow in the universe.
I guess Onion lives on the fry stand now. Alright, so let's move on to the website comments. Again, guys, if you want, just go on overlyanimated.com, leave a comment, and I will read those as well. Let's start with frequent commenter Steve, which is now his patron name of Steve, our patron. He says, I thought the gem stole the show in this episode. Pearl especially was hilarious. And without the gems, the episode would have been unstandable. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if it had been without the gems and also not with Steven, I think it would have been a complete mess of Ronaldo. But, I mean, I do agree that the gems did have, like, a lot of the most memorable comments. And I love, like, the fact, like, he mentioned Pearl. Like, I love that, like, Pearl, like, constantly got Ronaldo's, gemstone name wrong. Like, that was really funny to me.
Blood fry!
Just seeing them interact with him, like, they're awkward with humans in general, but they were, like, especially awkward with Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
which I enjoyed that a lot. So I'm going to try to summarize here because the comments get rambly at times between the people. Did Ronaldo actually have progress? We talked about this a bit. He talks about Steven not bottling up negative feelings anymore and actually letting them out a bit, which we saw when he stopped Ronaldo instead of just letting him keep going. Steve said he wants to see more Connie Ronaldo, which I would really enjoy some Connie Ronaldo interaction.
That'd be interesting.
And then also just not a mockery, but a correction to Ronaldo. How would you like it if Steven talked about Jane the way you talk about Connie?
Exactly.
Think about that, Ronaldo.
That was a very low blow.
Yeah.
You could tell it was just coming out of a place of feeling like defensive and jealous, but like, ooh, that was really, really nasty of him to say.
Yeah, that was a very low blow. And finally, at least we know he's trying, but I don't know if I will ever like Ronaldo.
That's totally fine, Steve. I feel you on that.
Is it now? No, I can't make a pun. Oh, this is gonna be a hard episode.
See, at least you're like, you stop yourself. Because if you broke your promise, there'd be an even worse, thing coming. So
no, you would prohibit me from making wrestling references on the wrestling episode next week.
I'm not that cruel, Justin. I know how much you're excited about the wrestling.
I'm so hype.
I know.
Alex chimed in agreeing that Pearl is a highlight, but Amethyst also had some good moments. God, yeah. Blog. And Alex was really bothered by the Connie thing, which we already just touched on. Yeah, that was
really nasty.
That was not okay. That was really not okay. And then another one from Alex even said, in parentheses, in advance, my apologies to Justin / whoever does the feedback pod for the ramble.
Listen, it's always us. I mean,
okay, last week I was sick.
Yeah, okay, true. But then you weren't even there, and he still said Justin and whoever else. What is this?
This is our thing. Alright, so let's read this from Alex. I thank you for not disparaging the r/Steven Universe users among your listeners, but you are right that Ronaldo has become a stand-in for the dense conspiracy theorist who hangs out on 4chan and the darker corners of Reddit. I honestly enjoyed him in Rising Tides, Crashing Skies, which, this is just in personal aside, I can't believe they actually referenced that in this episode.
Yeah, I know.
Back to the comment. And his background appearances in Season 3. But this episode is just uncomfortable to watch. When Peridot is self-centered, somehow it ends up being funny, but Ronaldo's self-centered behavior comes off as just irritating. What do you think the difference is? I can't put it into words myself.
I kind of disagree. I found him the most obnoxious probably in Rising Tides, Crashing Skies, because the fact that he was so ambivalent to how he was getting in the way of the crystal gems doing their job and just didn't learn anything is what made me dislike him so much. Whereas here, they let him be really nasty, but he comes away from it, genuinely wanting to be better and to understand things and know that, he can't, speak for another group of people. And, the fact that he feels left out, he's never going to be a crystal gem, and that's okay. The point is to understand them. It's not to, literally be them.
Yeah.
So, I liked them a lot more this episode than I ever have before.
What do you think about the whole Peridot versus Ronaldo self-centered behavior issue?
I don't know, honestly. I mean,
my thinking is Peridot kind of has the whole, she's an alien, she doesn't get it, she's an adorable slice of pie. While Ronaldo, it's he's lived in Beach City his entire life, and we kind of talked about this a bit in the comments as well. But, it's Ronaldo has no excuse not to know kind of about the crystal gems and Earth culture. While Peridot just broke free of Homeworld, so she still kind of has the bumbling sidekick villain turned hero angle. While most
I mean, they both kind of overstep their bounds, but they also kind of are trying to come from they really do just want to understand the situation and the fact that they're handling it badly is the issue. So I guess in that way it's similar. I don't know. I mean, was Peridot ever this nasty though?
No. Well,
I mean, she tried to kill them, but in terms of
maybe. See, the thing is, when Peridot said stuff like Amethyst being too small and the Pearl stuff, she didn't understand yet.
Because she was, like, from a homeworld mentality.
She
like,
was trying to make a joke.
She would have to unlearn from, like, entire life. Whereas Ronaldo was like, well, yeah, you're in that point. Yeah, the crystal gems have been there since forever. Like, before Ronaldo's been born, they've existed there. So it's really to have him be like, well, Steven, like, why aren't you showing your gem all the time? You know, I think that makes sense, even though, like, that's, like, so bogus. Like, yeah, having somebody, like, come in and talk about someone else's culture is, like, the worst. And I'm really glad they brought it up here. Because it highlights everything wrong about that and how, like, infuriating and kind of gross it is.
But Ronaldo, I can't believe I'm standing by his side, but he made 2 comments that I think stuck out to the fandom. First off, when he actually called Connie Steven's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend and I, we were watching this, and she just goes, finally, somebody said it! Can we talk about this? What is going on? Yeah. Could somebody just give us some kind of we're just friends line, or just something? And I mean, because I get the show is trying to keep just a platonic relationship, and that's absolutely fine. But you knew...
Platonic. I think it's just more about... I don't think it's about the labels. I think it's about how they treat each other. And in terms of how they treat each other, like, you can call that friendship, you can call it a couple, but they're like... They're in sync, you know? They're Stevani. That's, like, kind of all I think you need to know. I don't think you need to say their relationship. And, like, Ronaldo wasn't saying that because he, like, he's just been like, well, it's just because, like, she's dating you, you know? It's not like she actually has merit and, like, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Which is, like, so awful about what he said.
Which, that's always wonderful to say about a person in general. Yeah. But, you know, with the society we live in, you know those kind of questions are going to come up. There's a thing, I think it was either Brazil or Portugal, some other country aired a Steven promo and actually did call Connie Steven's girlfriend. I mentioned this in an article way, way, way back, guys, if you want to dig through and find it. But it's like, even Cartoon Network in some countries doesn't know what to do with this. And so you knew that eventually someone would start questioning. And it's not that Ronaldo questioned, but he at least, you know, put the thought in our head. And I think that's gonna start becoming, maybe not like a main point, but like a background theme of like a season.
Really?
I don't think it's gonna come to the foreground. I don't think it's ever gonna come to the foreground, but I think it might be something they kind of play with a bit in the background. For a while. Because they do that a lot, where they'll just play with something in the background. And I think if they do that, it might work.
I mean, I don't know. I'd be very curious to see what would warrant them suddenly being like, well, Connie, like, what do you really mean to me? Are we a thing? Like, I, like, don't know why they would... In terms of, like, things to talk about. I mean, it seems kind of settled to me.
Well,
like,
I don't expect
they're a thing.
I don't expect Steven and Connie to talk about it, like, directly. But I could see,
like,
Amethyst saying something, or...
for some reason. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the second they became Stevani, like, it was kind of like, okay, they're close. They're on a level, and that kind of, like, set it for everyone.
You question random strangers caring deeply about whether 2 young people are dating or not, which means you've clearly never been to a small Baptist church, because let me tell you, random strangers will gossip more than Degrassi fandom. It is ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous. And if Beach City's as small as it looks like, people will start talking. Like, yeah. So whether or not we get that, the other thing Ronaldo brought up, when he said, why don't you show your gem at all times? Had he said that line in a less, like, accusatory way?
Yeah, it was very accusatory.
It's a good question, because, I mean, if Ronaldo looks at the other gems... You can see Garnet's gems. You can always see Amethyst's gem. You can always see Pearl's gem. Steven covers his. Even Rose, like, kept hers visible at all times. Why does Steven not? Like, and I think that's a fair question, like, to ask Steven as a friend, but not, like, attack him over it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the difference between asking him about the gem, then asking him why he didn't use the name Rose Quartz at the end. Like, at the end, he's being very tactful, like... He's not trying to come off as, like, defensive. Like, he generally wants to know if that's an okay question to ask. Whereas here, it's, like, very accusatory. And, like, he's inserting his own, like, ideas of, like, why it makes more sense than whatever Steven's actual reasons are. Which is why it plays off, like, so uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And Steven even, like, does it. And you can see how uncomfortable he is, like, exposing it. Because that's, like, not something he's used to doing.
And the line that really got me, though, was when he was like, why don't I get your mom's sword? And it's like, dude, I don't, it's my mother's sword.
Heck? Yeah, it's his mom's sword.
It's like,
just got here.
It's a family heirloom, that's why.
Yeah.
But, finish up Alex's comment, this was a weird episode in that I laughed at a Ronaldo line, and then felt comfortable at him sending Steven out, and then laughing at Amethyst's line, and it was just up and down the entire 11 minutes. All in all, I hope this ends up being the low point of this post-zoo lull in the show, and we can throw episodes to the more neglected humans at some point, i.e. Vidalia, PD, maybe Jenny.
Oh my god, please, yes, PD. That was what I wanted PD. To see. I wanted PD so bad. I love PD.
And then, next comment was Gurren Prime, made a note saying kind of what we said, where Peridot being more bearable is she's making progress, and she has more of a reason to be unfamiliar with what she's doing wrong. Would you agree?
Yeah, we haven't seen her interact with humans in like a while outside of Connie.
And that was special.
And she's like gotten along way better with Lapis, so like it doesn't seem to be like a huge conflict anymore. So, yeah.
And then I'm gonna kind of, let's see, the two people talk about this or just Alex? I think just Alex. We'll get to the other one. Alex also said, the description of Bloodstone bothered me, a crushed up gem flowing through my bloodstream. After Steven dealing with the cluster and keeping it together, I have to imagine associating gem shards of caring had to bother him if he gave it thought enough. Which, that was a very dark, I know Ronaldo's just trying to come off as like edgy meme lord, but it was dark when you think about like gem culture.
Yeah, exactly, that's the thing, like he doesn't even like know that it's so uncomfortable, like the idea of a crushed gem means death. Essentially to them, but to him it's just like a cool idea.
Yeah. Which I think I don't say that's a jab at the fanfiction community, but to the people I know who wrote a AU fanfiction about Hamilton set on Mars, this shows there's a line somewhere where you just go from this doesn't make sense to why did you think of this? And so just fanfic writers, just think why this makes sense within the universe, and I
know some people are like wondering if that's going to be like because like you know like one of the like running things with Ronaldo episodes is like he says something that actually ends up being like totally real that we find out later, and a lot of people are wondering like if this is that line and what it could mean later in the show. Like, I saw one post going around saying like, oh, like, well, maybe like when he's talking about like, because he said first like something about like a heart gem, and then like having the gem shards like crushed and like strengthening his body or something. They're like, oh, what if the temple's powered by like pink diamonds crushed gem shards? Maybe that was the hint that was real. Like, I don't know. But
I predict that now Connie gets injected with a liquefied gem, becoming a full crystal gem.
She doesn't need to be a full crystal gem. It's cool that she's a human and can still contribute. That's like her thing.
But this way she can be immortal and live forever with Steven.
They'll figure it out though.
They'll figure out immortality a different way. It's fine.
They'll figure it out. Their relationship will be fine.
Edmund commented, I thought this episode was really interesting. I liked how it was showing us the interactions of people who just want to be like something or someone they're interested in, but don't realize that the people there before you don't just revolve their story to you.
Exactly.
Plus, sometimes just getting some light plotted episodes is good, but I don't like it when they just have light stuff for 12 episodes and only get important stuff in bombs. Plus, when Amethyst said, Dad, I'm home, blog, I died laughing.
My other favorite thing with Amethyst was when, like, Steven comes back, and I was just, like, laughing. He's like, that was a great joke, Amethyst. She's like, dude, I didn't even say anything. Like, that was hilarious to me.
He's just, like, trying to fit into the prototype
I know,
that he
and they're
knows.
just, like, so confused by him.
The best way I can compare that scene, it's like if we met, like, the cast and just started cracking up at everything Michaela Dietz said, even if she wasn't making a joke.
Yeah.
And we have one more comment on the website from Davon, another of our patrons. Well, the episode to me was okay. I didn't particularly love or hate it. It was another one of those episodes where if someone asks, do I need to watch this to understand the show? No. The thing that bothers me about SU is that they have like 3 to 5 plot episodes in a row and then like 10 non-consequential episodes. To me, that's not good production-wise because it leaves the audience bored. I want to be excited every week for SU, not see the description and sigh because it's a towny episode. The show should mostly focus on Steven, Connie, and the gems, because that to me is the appeal, not Ronaldo, not Onion, etc., etc. Or they should just find a fresh new way to make the non-plot episodes interesting. Back to the actual episode, though, the most appealing part was the gems. All of their lines, Pearl not wanting Ronaldo to join, Garnet's clap, Amethyst impersonating Ronaldo. But, we talked about this some, and I want to scream about it more because I'm really mad. But the Bloodstone promo from Cartoon Network was like, ugh. I assumed it wasn't going to be an actual gem. But the fact that they entertained Ronaldo with a gemsona seemed pointless. Then after being scolded by Steven, he wants to go solo. Like, really, Ronaldo? You should just go back to your blog, leave the gem stuff to the pros. Hopefully from now on, he won't be so much of a jerk minding his business when it comes to gem stuff.
Yeah, that's the hope. I think that's the best thing that could happen. I will just agree one thing. I don't think there is nothing wrong with non-plot heavy episodes. I mean, I think it's really important, and I think it's like the other half of the entire show. Like, we can't just have plot episodes. We're not going to get all these other good conversations we've been having. And you can do non-plot episodes really well. I think maybe what everyone's really frustrated with is, like, it feels like we haven't gotten anything spectacular in, like, a while, and so it feels like kind of a drag going through non-plot heavy episodes. But, like, honestly, Justin, like, for example, like, Tiger Millionaire is not a plot happy episode, but that's, like, such a good episode, right?
Which one?
Like, Tiger Millionaire.
Oh, Tiger Millionaire is not.
That
Tiger Philanthropist will not be.
Good episode. But, like, Alone Together is not a plot happy episode, but it is so freaking good.
But here's the thing I think people are forgetting.
It well.
Here's what people are forgetting. We just got 5 really heavy
we just
episodes.
Got a mini bomb.
Then we got the wrap up to that with New Crystal Gems.
Yeah,
we're in a cool down era of, like, we need to kind of look at stuff before we get back in. Storm in the Room was very introspective. This was very introspective. Tiger Philanthropist is probably going to be a bit later, and then we might get back to plot later. But I think what happened is,
I
think what happened is, because the bomb leaked so long ago, like the beginning of January.
Yeah.
And It's now, like...
It feels like a lot longer.
Right, when in reality it was, 3 weeks ago we got the bomb, technically? It was that
more or less.
first week in February-ish. But because it leaked so long ago, we forget how new that is. And so I think had we seen that when it aired, or had these episodes aired right after the bomb leaked...
It wouldn't feel like forever.
Exactly, but because we digested that bomb like a month ago, we're like, okay, we're ready for new plot stuff. Had the bomb been 2 weeks ago, we'd be enjoying the lighthearted more, I think. I think it's more
it could be true that some of these haven't been, like, the New Crystal Gems, I was not super high on, like, I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great. And even Storm in the Room, like, I felt like it was supposed to land a lot harder than it did for me.
I cried. I cried at that one.
It was emotional, but I think, like, part of the issue with that was that, like, they've been building up Steven questioning his mom, for a while. And the majority of the episode didn't even really tackle that. It was, like, the last fourth of the episode that really got into it, and that felt, like, so quick for him to then be like, okay, well, I guess I accept this now. I'll just, like, go on with things. Like, I'm assuming that's not the end of the conversation, but it felt a little unsatisfactory in that way. So maybe, like, on top of, like, all of these episodes that, people feel, like, maybe okay about, but not awesome, like, this Ronaldo episode, well, I think it's, like, the best Ronaldo episode and use of Ronaldo we've had. Like, it still feels like maybe a letdown. But, I don't know, I don't think filler's a bad thing. And I think filler could also be subjective. Because, if we're expanding characters and making them more interesting and giving them, like, better reasons to be interesting characters in the future, like, I don't consider that filler. I consider that necessary for, like, a substantial, well-rounded show. If it's literally just plot, like, that's no guarantee that you're going to be invested in anything, especially not the characters. You need to give them some more things to, like, interact with in breathing room.
Yeah, I think so, too. Definitely. We do need that balance, and I think we're getting closer to the balance the further in we get to the show. So I'm going to rapid fire off some of the YouTube comments real quick. I might mispronounce some names. I am sorry, people. Disclaimer, please don't sue. Grain Quinn, do you think Ronaldo will actually fight a gem? Michelle, go.
Oh, God, maybe, but he'd need lots of help, or it was really small. That's my answer.
Alright, next one. Sarah Margaret. We got a couple of good ones in here. Do you think Ronaldo made any good predictions, like the Crystal Heart? We talked about that.
Yeah, maybe.
Ronaldo got his star before Peridot sad.
Yeah, that was a little unexpected.
I love how they made a point where you don't have to accept and love people that hurt you, and that a good way to help them is to educate them.
Yeah, exactly. That was what was the nicest thing about the episode. They let him be nasty, and then he got better.
I was so happy when he said, "That's rough, buddy," which that's an Avatar reference, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And the crystal gems can jump pretty high, though that's unsurprising. Bloodstone is a very 13-year-old Sonic the Hedgehog OC name. That's from Davidson HDW, which, yes, as someone who has played the Sonic Fanfiction Challenge, rather, that's a very Sonic OC name. Just, yeah, Bloodstone is just not... It's like when they're trying to be like really 90s extreme edgy and they just flop really bad. And I think Ronaldo still lives in the 90s.
Yeah. He definitely referenced a lot of things that seemed like they could have existed in the 90s.
Yeah. And finally, before we go, Michelle, I want to make one last comparison. Okay. Have you seen the episode of SpongeBob Big Pink Loser where Patrick pretends to be SpongeBob to win an award?
Yes!
Now think about Ronaldo wearing the star the whole episode.
Oh.
I couldn't get the comparison of Patrick in that episode and Ronaldo out of my head.
Oh, my brain never went there, but I'm really glad you brought that up.
You're seeing it now.
Now.
So, that is our feedback on Rocknaldo. If you have more comments, let me know. I might respond to you in whatever ways you make available for me to respond to you. Michelle, can they message you as well?
Yes, they can.
At places. And those places are on overlyanimated.com. Right? They have links.
Yeah, they have links.
Links are good. Thank you so much, everyone who is listening and supports us. Leave us a review on iTunes. We love iTunes reviews. If you want to support us financially, you can do so via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. You get access to that Facebook group we were talking about. You get your own nickname. You get access to all kinds of cool stuff. Thank you so much to all of our patrons, but especially our patron of the podcast, John, a.k.a. Johnny Bravo. Do you have any plugs you want to do for upcoming things, Michelle?
I don't know what upcoming things are happening anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, Star's happening on Monday, I guess. That's something.
Yeah, we're entering kind of an animation drought in the next couple of weeks, because Star's nearing its season finale soon, because they're doing the February of Star, and February is about over. Ooh, the finale is Monday, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
So Star's about to end its season. We know we have Steven next week.
And but after that, we don't know.
After that, we don't know of any cartoons airing in the slightest, so we might be out of a job for a little bit.
Except for Samurai Jack.
Oh,
right?
Jack is back on March 11th. Yeah, as long as you watch, I can watch, and we will cover together.
We should really watch like the whole original series just so we know what's going on for real.
I will try to get caught up as much as possible, but I'm also a college student with part-time job.
Well, I have a full-time job.
Well, see, then that's even more of a reason for us to just try to, like, get the highlights, and then... Because it looks like it's a standalone miniseries, like, 24...
I thought it was, like, the next season, because I thought the show got, like, canceled or something.
Okay.
Somebody tell us what's going on.
Okay, I can explain.
Know.
It's a miniseries, but it's also season 5. So it's
that's what I was saying. It was like
remember how they brought back X-Files for one season, like, a year ago? It's like they're doing that. It's technically a sequel, but it seems you'll be able to kind of watch it on its own. Yeah. Okay. So I think there'll be nods for past fans, but at the same time, it should be relatively self-contained. Or as long as you have like a general working knowledge, you can follow the show. If you want to follow the show, Jack needs to get back to the present and defeat Aku. That's basically all you need to know to understand what's happening. Beyond that, like, yeah, seeing the other episodes is good, but that's the basic plot. Like, this show never got super deep as far as continuing story. It's a big world, but it's a pretty straight path through. So, we will be covering that starting March 11th-ish. And beyond that, yeah, we need to find things to do. SU roundtables again?
Hopefully, and maybe more Total Drama also.
We will be getting there. We're almost done with season 2.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean I, and then you'll binge and...
I'll binge.
You'll binge the day before we podcast. So yeah, that is what is coming up in the wonderful world of Overly Animated. Thank you so much, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.